Well, guys, this is Jason. This is getting posted on my YouTube channel, but it is designed for my Facebook and X followers in particular. And so I'm going to share the link there and it'll feed them to here. And so this is just basically a live update because I've got a lot going on as usual. And I'm going to start with my workplace at this point. And I've taken a role in a different team at this point. Our original position is kind of being split in half. We're going to have a research team, and then we're also going to have the communications team to communicate directly with customers. I'm going to be part of the latter because I've always been a good communicator ever since my days in Fargo, North Dakota, where I had to learn how to do that by force. And so it's a skill that I carry with me to this date, and I think that skill would be in better use in that role. However, this project of splitting things and doing pilot projects with various products within the bank has been a little bit stir crazy, to say the least. I did shadow somebody on one of their calls on Friday, and I still feel better about this move than struggling in my old role. But but yeah, it's like the project lead was downsized or his position was eliminated, and now we have a whole bunch of other managers trying to figure out how this is going to finish out or be deployed. And I got moved from one product to another. Actually got moved back into the product I used to be working in my old position. And so now I don't know if I'm going to be reporting to a different manager next week after I got moved off my old manager last week. So it's a little bit chaos right now. So if I'm asking for prayers on anything, it's going to be that. Just that it all sorts out and I can get down to what I thought I would be doing when I got there. And that's changed a little bit as well. And there's an extra element to this particular role that I wasn't expecting when I came in. And from what I have understood from some of my managers, it's not a permanent addition to the role. It's just temporary. I just pray that that's true. So that's the employment portion of my life situation right now. The second one, of course, is the book And the Symptomedemic. And I have written the introduction at this point. I have the chapter outlined and the bullet points in place. I just need to fill the boxes at this point, kind of like a kid coloring a crayon book. So a lot of the framework has been built on this, and in sharing my advice as far as, and for those who don't know, symptomedemic is a simp is kind of an informal term that relates to men who try too hard to get women. They basically are not themselves. They change who they are. They grovel for attention. They follow them around on social media kind of like a puppy dog following its owner. And basically it's just a shameful, not dignified way to do this. These are men who they're trying too hard. And they're trying to, how should I say it? They're trying to convince a woman to change her mind on something that can't necessarily be changed. So basically they're trying to control something that cannot entirely be controlled. You know, if she likes you, she likes you, and if she doesn't, she doesn't. And the only thing that you can do is really change yourself, which is a big part of what I do with my life, as I try to increase my value in that regard. The other thing is a lesson I learned a few years ago when, of course, I got those harassment accusations falsely in my previous church. And, if I asked myself what I could have done better, I initially didn't think there was anything I could have done better, but then I eventually found it. And this is chapter 8 of the book. And that is vet, vet, vet. Cold approaching, just asking for numbers and dates isn't going to work in this environment anymore. What you want to do is take effort. It may only be a few minutes. It doesn't take that long. But if you have standards set, and mine are very, very, very narrow at this point, and you want to take a short conversation, introduce yourself, say hi, and then just figure out if, there's any chance that this person can meet those standards. Now, you're not going to determine automatically right at the jump. That's what the dating process is for. But as far as the indicating, you can rule somebody out that they have no chance at all at meeting your standards. That's what this is for. That's what this early vetting is for. So that'd be chapter 8 and then Sympatemic the book. I will be sharing more details as time comes along and I get closer to launch date. But that is the short version of that part of my life right now. I have signed up and basically requested to join another bowling league again. I want to be able to average at least as high as I did last spring, and to probably even top it. And I'm looking to get a couple of balls of new equipment there. I have a storm suggestion from Verity Crawley. It's called the Storm Equinox, and it's for league bowlers such as myself who bowl in inconsistent conditions, which I discovered at Flaherty's last spring because we always had 5 leagues, using those lanes before us. So any consistency or any pattern is pretty difficult to track. And so she recommended this ball, and I will buy it. Now, what's stopping me from buying it now? Well, I actually had the IRS, one of my previous creditors, before my 2016 bankruptcy, reported income to them that should not have been reported. And so there is this tax bill that has been hanging over me that I'm going to be fighting. But I'll have money even before then because I recently won it's not even a class action, it's called a mass action lawsuit against Ford Motor Company for a car that my now ex-wife and I had in 2014, and it had what was called the what's the name of that transmission? It's a manual transmission it's not even a manual transmission. It's an automatic transmission that was faulty. It would grind and the gears would completely crash. And so I won a judgment of a few $1,000s in the form of a settlement. That money will be here in about 3 months. Of course, the attorney's got to get the money from Ford first. So it's another part that's going on in my life right now. In case anybody's wondering, yes, Dream Lauren still exists. I don't talk about her very much. I've actually spent most of my time, the person I've spent really any time talking about that with is my therapist. And she has some pretty stellar insight on that one. And what it is dreams of somebody like that usually come from things that you're thinking about while you're conscious and awake. And I told my therapist, I said, well, you know what? I can't argue with you because that's pretty true. There are very narrow standards in that, she needs to match my history, or at least be in the same zip code in terms of history and overcoming adversity, persevering, and sharing that resilience. Because that is where the understanding, and according to a relationship coach I've been following online by the name of Anna Jorgensen, there's real power in that type of thing. So I think Dream Lauren is a real person. I just need to continue to elevate my life and be ready to vet accordingly when she does show up. And to continue to have conversations with people. And even have conversations with women out there just to gauge if there's a possibility. I had one such case at my current church this weekend. And it turns out being the answer is no, because she doesn't share that particular rough history. Or at least not in that level I'm never going to meet somebody with that exact history, by the way. That person just doesn't exist. But I will be looking for somebody who has similar adversity, toughness, and resilience. Because as a pastor at my new church stated a couple months back, us complicated people get less grace than anybody. But from my personal experience, I also know that we give it more readily than anybody. So yes, I believe she's a real thing. And I'm eagerly waiting for the day. But now I know what to do to figure that out. Vet. Just initiate as many conversations as I can as I live my life. Last weekend was a great example. And I think it could have I think vetting like that way could have prevented my false harassment charges at my previous church, because I could have figured this out before I even asked. So I'm always looking for ways that I can improve and elevate my life. That just happens to be one of them. So anyway, it's my life update. Thank you just so much for hanging with me through all of this. So that's the kind of direction I'm going right now. Again, this is primarily for my Facebook and X followers, but I will be sharing this also on the YouTube channel, which is where this link will go to. Anyway, thank you very much. And as I tell all of my channel followers speaking of the channel, you will notice that this is on a new channel, and this epidemic has been changed to Unheralded History, which is my channel about historical figures who either people don't know about or discuss, or aren't discussed, have details that aren't discussed about a lot. I have a fun one coming tomorrow. Previous subjects of this have been former North Dakota Governor Art Link, former Saskatchewan Premier and New Democratic Party Canadian leader Tommy Douglas, the founder of Canadian Universal Healthcare. Those are two big ones. Another one was Gerhard Heinrici, who was a Nazi general, the one general who Hitler couldn't stand. I explained that in my video on him, why that was the case. And so I don't think I mentioned him yet, but there was also Colorado Governor Ralph Carr, who went against the tide during World War II when FDR wanted to inter Japanese American citizens in, I don't want to say concentration camps because they weren't like those, but basically prison camps. And I wanted to highlight what a courageous decision that was and how that put him on the right side of history. So that's my life in a nutshell. Thanks for hanging out to the end with me here, for my Facebook and X followers and anybody on my channel who stumbled into this. Thank you very much, guys. And as I say there, peace out, homies.